Hello there. Welcome back to After the Ashes, a Beautiful Altadena podcast. I'm Steve.
I'm Shauna.
And we're here to do episode 7 of season 2. There's my dysgraphia going. Back to the policy future. Yes, we did do an 80s reference here.
Another 80s reference.
Well, you know, you are the Gen Xer.
I love them. I am the Gen Xer.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Steve? You're younger than me?
Couple years.
I know. A few.
You know what? This week I started noticing I'm going to need bifocals, and I'm having a real tough time with that because I've been making fun of everybody having to wear readers, and I wear glasses normally for those who've never seen me, but those who have. But now to have to go to a bifocal is freaking me out. I may have to do just readers and glasses, but anyway, my wife told me it's time for LASIK, and she's probably not wrong.
But sadly for you, as I'm sure you know, LASIK does not address bifocal issues. It would just mean
you get one and one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could correct one issue with the LASIK and then still have to wear glasses. And then also still have the pleasure in a couple of years of wearing the reading glasses. Because fun fact, the LASIK procedure was developed, and I only know this because when I finally broke down and did LASIK 15, 18 years ago, it was with one of the ophthalmologists who had actually developed the procedure at UCLA. And this was an accident. They ended up solving all of these other problems while trying to solve the problem of age-related vision loss, right? Reading that really close vision loss. Mm-hmm. No one has been able to solve that still. They can't fix it.
It will go down over time, unfortunately.
Like, it just is what it is.
Well,
but
that's why I tell everybody it's cosmetic. So, like, wait till you're old enough that you can do it.
Yeah.
And then as you continue to
degrade,
you'll probably get to the point where there's cataracts, and then you'll get the last.
Yeah. Well, they say, too, that you can do it a second time if you need to, if long enough out.
Yeah.
And like to wait long enough because you don't ideally want to keep doing it. But if it's really necessary and you have a big, but they also say, like, wait until it's really far gone enough that, you know, you're not blowing your shot, basically.
And on that note.
Yeah, hey, I know. The wide world of old people problems.
Yeah, I know. This aging thing sucks.
Don't even. I will just end on this. Look at me. Oh, you can't see it. You can feel it. I'm wearing a CGM again. Why? I'm not diabetic, and I'm not a wellness bro. I'm wearing it because thanks to perimenopause, my blood sugar is so fucked up. I am like, I
knew it was going to go to perimenopause. I just knew it was going to go there.
It's the truth. Go ask your wife. For real. So listen. Here's what I want to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of things, but I want to let people know that we finally fixed a little bit of a problem or created a solution for something that shouldn't have been a problem. The podcast is on Substack.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I thought you were talking about our government. I was like, wait a minute, what?
I'm working on that too.
It's a little warm here. Hell hasn't frozen over yet.
We're getting close. So yes, I want people to know that the podcast can now be found on Substack. If you happen to be on my Substack page for Beautiful Altadena, it's got its own little...
Yeah, it's a nice little tab. I was looking at that. I was thinking to myself, I need to get fancy, but then I'm like,
It's really not hard. It's not that fancy.
I know, but I have to take the time and do it.
You can do it. Yeah. I can do it for you today in between recordings. How's that? I'll show you how. The old lady will show you how to use the tech.
I understand.
Okay. So I think we should kick this one off with another media roundup because especially when we've been gone, have we been gone 2 weeks? Yeah. When we've been quite dark for 2 weeks, I feel like we have so much to talk about. Steve and I last week were like, oh my gosh, we need to record last week because there was so much happening. Yeah.
As I was trying to ski Mammoth.
I know.
And I'm like, then all of a sudden I started writing again. I was like, damn it. I was doing so well. I was happy. And then all of a sudden, like, the two-a-dayers were coming, and I could just tell everyone's like, oh, shit, here it comes again.
Oh, to be happy. Or not. I don't know.
Well,
it is a choice.
Skiing is kind of like...
Sometimes.
For me, it's always been one of those happy places.
It's awesome. Yeah. And you got to take your boys and have a nice time with them, too, and have some family time.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun with my 15-year-olds. Like, basically, they just went off on their own, and I didn't see them until dinner.
I love it.
It's that.
I love it. So stories. I mean, I think the big story for all of us, obviously, is what's playing out on a national stage and the national strike last Friday that, we saw play out here as well. Disturbing fascist times that we are living in. That is the word for it. There's no dancing around it. It's what it is. I don't know if you saw. I mean, we have journalists being arrested for covering protests, being by federal officers, which is absolutely insane. So of course is the shooting of anyone in the street. But white people, if you think it's not you, it's definitely you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's everybody.
So I wrote a post on this last week.
Yeah, you did.
And I thought it was one of the more poignant posts that I've written because I traced this all back. Okay, we could put aside everything. I think it goes back to that meeting, that conference that they had back here where Alex Padilla was tackled by Kristi Noem's goons in June.
Right. We talked about that and I wrote about that. That was insane.
It was. And I mean, that was a Rubicon that was crossed. And I think Trump should have fired her then. I think she was a derelict in her duty then. And the progression, as I wrote in the piece, and it's the arc, right? I was thinking of Wall Street as I was writing it. The movie, the original movie back to the 80s with Charlie Sheen and Michael Douglas, where he goes on that arc where, all of a sudden even though he's crossed the line and done the deed that's taken him over into whatever the dark side is. And this is a typical story that we've used this story arc many times, but I was thinking of Wall Street. And he became consumed by the decision that he made to take him to that point. And then the fall came inevitably. And at that point, there was the redeeming moralistic thing at the end where, he takes down Michael Douglas. But I mean, we don't see Kristi Noem taking down Donald Trump. But the idea being like, eventually you get so consumed by whatever you're doing that you lose the context of what you were before. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what's happened. Stephen Miller, that's a whole different game. My favorite writer, Gustavo Arellano, loves to write about that guy. And his stuff is pretty good about it. But,
Hi, Gustavo.
Yeah, hi, Gustavo. And so I think that, but Kristi Noem to me really was, I don't want to say the useful idiot because that's a very demeaning term. But I mean, she went along for the ride and she wrote it all the way. And then the fact she last week came out and Axios was publishing it, and I heard it in multiple sources that, she said, "Oh, everything I did, I took in the direction of Stephen and the president."
Right.
I'm like,
yep, the rats are jumping ship.
Dude, really? Like you serve at the pleasure of the president.
Yep.
And if you didn't like it, and you felt, you should have resigned in principle, and which means that you were either weak or you're incompetent. Either way, a lot of this is going to rest at your feet and Stephen's feet. Stephen might tap dance his way out of this, but I think Noem is definitely going to be the scalp. They started with Bovino, but it's going to be Noem ultimately.
Ultimately, Miller needs to be one of
he
the...
should,
when,
and he
when
will.
we're back at The Hague, he needs to be one of the first on the spit.
Well,
Sorry,
and
for war crimes. Truly for war crimes.
And it's really...
That's what it is at this point.
It's really sad because he's a member of the tribe.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like...
But what? How many... I mean, let's talk... I mean, this is definitely not the subject of our podcast today, but I don't think we can ignore... I actually just saw a video yesterday that was making me think about this again. We cannot ignore how many people in our community, I say our because Steve and I both happen to be Jews. That said, how many in our community have aligned, ish. I know, he's ish and I'm ishier, ish. But my point was just simply how many Jews have aligned themselves with this administration because they feel they have to support Israel, which could not be more short-sighted. I was watching a video yesterday of a MAGA rally, and it was a woman carrying an Israeli flag and wearing a Palestinian scarf, while a very white woman at a MAGA rally, Israeli flag, Palestinian scarf. Oh no, you can't wait for it. And she was going on about how immigrants were destroying the country, taking the job, and then she flat out said, "They're trying to eliminate us." And the person interviewing said, "Eliminate who?" And she said, "The white race." Okay, so it just says everything. It's like, how have we gone? We're the Ouroboros, right? Like eating our own tail. We've come so full circle on all of this insanity that it's like, oh no, someone genocided us. Let's do it to another group, and let's see how many groups we can do it to. It's insane to me, insane. I don't know how anyone of our faith can defend what is happening either in the Trump administration, in Israel with Gaza, I don't understand it.
Well, I think there's a sense of hostility toward Jews, and Jews have always been,
A scapegoat.
well, yes. And
Yeah, well, the
I think-
anti-Semitism is real. I'm not
no,
discrediting.
anti-Semitism is back. I mean, we're
Yep,
seeing
and
it everywhere,
and
and we're
it's
seeing
strong.
it on the left, and we're seeing it on the right. So, I mean, I don't think that that's something that's changing anytime soon. And
I don't either.
I can get into a lot of detail on this, but I don't think it's the time or place, and I really don't want to alienate people who have strong views on a lot of this.
Yeah.
I think it's best to just let it be, but just understand. I'll leave it with this. I remember I was driving down California Boulevard on October 5th, and I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were talking about how this modern generation of Jewish people have become very assimilated. I mean, you and I sitting here right now, we both call ourselves Ish and Ishir. Like, we are very assimilated. My kids are, they don't go to synagogue. They don't even know anything.
Right. No, I know. I don't go to synagogue.
And I mean,
I light my candles.
if I take them, it's, and it's almost like we've gone back to the old days where we kind of like live in, anonymity. But I remember talking to them, and this was October 5th, 2023. And I said, if we're not careful, things are going to change. And our religion, we've basically ceded the seats of power to everyone else. And when I moved to Los Angeles, the vast majority of the congressional delegation was Jewish. Today, I think it's just Congressman Schiff and Congressman Sherman and Congresswoman Friedman. That's it. That's all that's left. And when that happens, what's happened is we've gone to indirect influence in using lobbying and donations and things like that. But you forget the first rule of politics. If you can't take someone's money and then vote against them, you shouldn't be in the game. And I think that our religion has forgotten what got us, what we had to go through in Germany. And I think, there's a point at which you have to say, okay, when you lose a seat at the table, you're not going to have a voice. And so I was saying that to my buddy on October 5th, and then October 6th happened. And the world scrambled. Yeah. But this has been building for a while.
No, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That's a digression, right, wrong, or indifferent.
I think there is a very clear right and a wrong here, certainly from the moral compass that our
I know, but it's been very complicated, and
everything is complicated, but some things are not. Well, I will say at that, some things are not.
I understand, but I understand why Jews feel fear right now and are flocking toward the Republican Party, because they feel like they were a cornerstone of the Democratic Party. They were a cornerstone of the civil rights activists and civil rights movement. They were a cornerstone in so many aspects that have brought us the liberal, progressive society. I mean,
but wrong is wrong. And it is no different than the Christian right aligning behind the administration in this country is, to me, very similar to what's happening with Israel. We can love our country, and we can love our country, and we can love our identity, and we can believe in our right to exist, because we absolutely have a right to exist. And I say we, I mean both the Jewish people and Israel, which are in many ways inextricably tied and connected. That said, that right does not give you the right to wipe out others, and it's what's happening in both countries.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, though, that there is Israel is a different story, and I'm not going to get into Israel.
Okay.
I've always said that the biggest oxymoron is the word Jewish organization, and I don't understand how the hell we have a country. And when everybody says to me, well, what do you think about Senator Rosen? And I'm like, any woman that can run a synagogue can run this country. I mean, like, seriously, to get a bunch of Jews together to agree on anything is, Anyway.
I feel like debate is baked into our faith.
Well, because it is. The essence of Jewish faith is, and this is something not a lot of people understand, is you're supposed to question everything.
Correct.
And to the point that I think it builds this neuroses, that we question everything to the point that we don't just believe.
Yeah.
And that's your goal, your intent as a Jew. Like, that's what you're supposed to do in part of your spiritual journey. So I think that that's just part of who we are as a people.
Well,
but
it is. Look at the Talmud. I mean, that's what it was. It's just a bunch of scholars debating the Torah, which is the Old Testament, and what these things really meant. What were we properly applying? And there's so many different...
the Talmud is like thousands and thousands
I know.
and thousands of books.
And I find this fascinating. I will wrap it on
Sorry,
this.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I did not want to go down this road.
I know, it's okay.
I stayed away
by
from
the
this
way,
issue the whole
Steve
time for a
is
reason.
squirming so hard that I wish we were on video today. I wish so badly that we were on video today because it's so good. Steve looks like he might also murder me later. But that's another conversation.
I don't want this issue, which is such a hot
It's
button
not, but I
issue,
don't think
to detract from what we're saying. I don't want
It
people
won't.
going, "Oh, look
Steve,
at they're Zionists or they're."
We're not. Well, anyhow, that's
understand
really
what I'm saying,
you
like-
just used the Z word. That's where I was
But you
not going to
understand
go.
what I'm saying? Like immediately, that's where people are going because that's how tweaked everything has become.
Well, and it shouldn't be. And I hope that's the takeaway for anyone listening to this is that it should not be we shouldn't be in this, and we should be able to have these conversations and be able to overlay all of these themes and how we're seeing them play out on a global stage, on a national stage, and right here in our own backyard, right?
Okay.
Because they are. And I know that you and I agree with that on that point 100%. And as I maintain with both sides, and this is actually very much about one of the things we're going to talk about today, both in this episode and the next episode that are both being recorded on the same day, is the fact that, we have fallen so deep into playing through this partisan politics thing, right? And people are largely really sick of that. It's like it's just enough of the.
But that's what I'm saying. Is I don't want to
be.
I don't want to be identified in one side or the other because we are talking about pragmatism.
We have to be fluid. Exactly. We have to be fluid, and we have to be able to have conversations. I agree. Well, I mostly agree.
But there are things that are happening.
Correct.
That you can't. Both sides have things that I don't agree with, and there's things that they do agree that I do agree with. Right. And it's unfortunate that we have to be. And again, this administration has made it so so
polarized.
Obtuse.
Yeah.
Because
so
of their
deeply
actions.
Polarized.
And it takes away from so much of what they are doing that actually does make sense. I mean, there's many Democrats that have said to me, I don't disagree with everything they're doing in government.
Right.
I disagree with what they're doing and how they're doing it in public.
So that is actually the perfect segue into this conversation about the next big story that kicked off last week, and it was Trump's EO. It was the executive order that, I know, here we go, right? It's perfect timing. You thought I was on a big, taking you down the country lane. In fact, the country lane led right back to the barn.
Well, I said we'll let it meander.
Well, now we're back. So let's talk about the EO. So obviously a lot of panic. I got a lot of text messages.
Yeah, you panically texted me.
Well, not panicked. I did not panic.
You're like,
text
have you seen this? And I'm sitting
I
there
was
going,
like,
no, I'm on the slopes. Why would I be wasting my time?
It wasn't panicked. It was more like, have you seen this? Because this shit's going to blow up. I was getting messages, a handful from media, but more from other community organizers.
Oh, media reached out to you?
Media reaches out to everybody when these things blow up. But the point was that other organizers were asking me, Shauna, what's your take? Because they wanted to know my take before they went to the media. Well, and I know.
Well, so the media basically, I thought, short sold this one.
I thought so too. And the way this was what I shared with those who I had the conversation about it, about it. And I will say the same here is that, to the point you just made, we can't discard everything just because of the sender, right? We may not like the messenger, but not everything in the message is wrong or terrible, right? And if this is, like it or not, it's a bitter pill. But if this is if this is the mechanism, if this is how we get some of the money flowing.
That's what I told you.
I know. If this is how we get it, fucking take it, okay? We've been screaming. Our politicians have been screaming. Oh my gosh, I was looking at Sasha Pérez,
Politicians aren't screaming.
Going about, where's the Trump money? We can't get the federal money. Nothing's happening because of federal money. Nothing's happening because we made a choice to not do anything without that funding, even though we had mechanisms to get funding elsewhere.
No, they did stuff. They just need that money to cover up what they did.
Correct. And that's a whole episode unto itself. So, and I actually publicly commented on that one post from her because I was like, where's the outrage about the state? Where's the outrage?
You mean about the governor vetoing our money that we could have had?
Yes, we could. We have the mechanisms. We have the tools.
I think we're going to talk about this a little later, aren't we?
We are. We're going to talk about it more later.
That one.
But the point very simply is that, I don't support what this administration stands for or what it is doing at large in any way, shape, or form. I also am not short-sighted enough to cut my nose to spite my face and to thumb my nose. I'm going to use a lot of nose analogies at this money or processes that may come, because the reality is, like it or not, and we've talked about this at length for the last however many months we've been doing this since last September.
Maybe some people in Washington are listening to us.
Right. That, we blew it. We, the state, our county leaders, our city leaders, because this impacts the Palisades and their leadership as well. We've had the opportunity. We've had it. And per usual, the Democratic Party could not organize an orgy in a brothel or a piss up in a brewery. I've stolen those both from Mr. Beer. They're two of my favorite one-liners. I will take them with me forever. But it's the truth. It is the absolute truth. We have become such an incompetent, ineffective, bloated thing.
Nothing ever gets done in the Democratic
Party.
It's
a big circle jerk. It was my experience trying to work with.
Unless you're a specific interest group, and then you can get everything
and then
you want.
You can get it, and then you can blow it, and then you can be where we are now, which is homeless crisis 2.0.
Well, okay, so
Steve's face got so wild. He's like, "What's she going to say next? Oh shit! What is she going to say next?"
Oh no, I think you got to go back and let's get back to the EO first. I think the media's initial reaction, and again, I feel bad for California because I feel like our media is so knee-jerk and so emotional and so reactive.
Yeah.
The Republicans in Washington say they just love to see the Democrats because they say something and they know the Democrats are going to have an emotional response to everything.
Yeah.
Like, and this was the permitting. Oh my God, they're going to come in and take over California.
Which I think you made a great point that day when you and I had a conversation about this, that the media that latched onto to the issue of permitting and then made that kind of the central fat thing of this, of like, they're going to take over permitting. And when in fact, that's not really even the meat of what's in there at all. No. So it was kind of curious that it was like, oh, permitting, but actually this is very little about permitting. That's not the takeaway here.
So what you got to do is you got to read what's going on there. And when I read the EO, it was much more, the thing is I don't think the media understands the bigger picture of what we understand. And if Washington's truly listening to what we're saying, this thing has legs that are far greater than anything you'll ever see. It's benign in terms of what it says. It says, we will take over permitting. California freak out because the permitting is what's slowing everything down. Oh, my God, that's bullshit. We're getting all these people permitted and permitting's not the issue. Like Catherine Barger said in Pasadena Now, the quote, it's not that we need the money, not the permitting. Our permitting's great. Yeah, of course the county's going to say that. But what he said, but what they didn't understand is that the permitting is the basis on which the federal government can come in and take over the rebuild. Mm-hmm. Because under the Stafford Act, they can then say, well, the county or the state are not doing what they're supposed to do, and we are going to come in and make sure the rebuild goes. It's the justification. Now, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. That's just going to be their justification. You can argue it becomes a relative term. The reality is there's plenty of people in Los Angeles in this rebuild that would say it's not moving fast enough. Aren't there, Shauna?
Yep.
I mean, or
when we're going to talk about that.
If you're going to have electeds say, well, it's not that big a deal. We're doing everything we can and they can, go pound sand. Like, that's all relative, guys. Sorry. And so, okay, let's put that aside for a minute. What did he really do? He said he's directing the the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security and the FEMA director and the administrator of the Small Business Administration to come back to his domestic policy council and provide legislative and regulatory solutions to speed up the process. Now, what does that mean, folks? That means a lot more than just permitting. Mm-hmm. Remember, who funds all the temporary loans, the loans against your house, your EIDL loans, SBA. What if SBA comes back and says, we need to do a shared equity loan to help fill that $100,000 to $200,000 gap that a lot of homeowners are feeling so that we can build on the California dream for all? Well, is the state going to do it through iBank or is the SBA going to do this? And again, what about opportunity zones? they can make a recommendation that we can get temporary opportunity zone designation.
Exactly.
What
Finally.
about increasing the...
I wish that people understood, and please don't lose your train of thought, but I really wish people understood what an absolute game changer having the opportunity zone designation would be for our business districts.
For temporary opportunity
But
to attract
just to get
capital,
money in.
To attract capital. Well, we effectively have some of that with the CRA, but we're pissing that away. We're now 12 months in and nobody's raising any money because nobody has an economic development plan. We can get into that in a different time, but I could tell you that's a huge gap that's sitting in this rebuild because everybody's focused on the wrong things. So what about the exemption for cap gains on properties that people are forced to sell because of this type of situation? Why shouldn't they get the doubling of that?
Climate gentrification.
Which goes back to, if I have to sell and I bought that house 50 years ago and my land has now been destroyed and I can't really will it to my kids, so why shouldn't I be able to sell it and not have to pay an increased penalty? I should double that, which is something that the AEI is talking about. It's something that Stephen Moore and other Republican economists are talking about in the Wall Street Journal twice in a month about talking about this. So if they're talking about the property tax situation, the cap gains on houses, the exemption for your primary home, why shouldn't we have that tested here in our disaster situation? And I've been talking to electeds about this since November. So here's your chance, folks, to actually get the policies that we need in place at the federal level. Everyone keeps saying at the federal level, well, what can we do? What can we do? Oh, we just throw up our hands. Oh, it's CDBG DR money. What the federal government's doing here, and it's not just us. This is Western North Carolina, and this is going to be the disaster playbook going forward. How much money can they bring into Los Angeles or Altadena or the Palisades as a result of these changes that would be effectively reducing the $33 billion in the CDBG money? I talked to an elected about this last week, and I said, how much of that $33 billion do you actually need here in LA? And they go, well, we don't. I said, how much of it can be filled through other means, like talking about the utilities? And can we fund and finance those without having to use the federal money for it? The answer is they have no idea.
Which sound familiar? I mean, this has been the theme.
Nobody has any idea
of the last year. No one knows what the fuck they're doing.
They just
Sorry for
want
the language,
that money in because that money will flood the zone and take away all the problems.
Correct. And then they can hide what happened to, for example, all of the fire aid money because no one really wants to dig into that.
Well, because none of it actually got to the people it was intended to go to.
Exactly.
It went to all these small community-based organizations to build an infrastructure around this disaster relief. As somebody said to me the other day, the poverty pimps are now disaster pimps.
Yep.
And the organizations that were typically driving toward homelessness and all these things are now moving into disasters. And the same people are at the helm of it all. Oh, we went there. Sorry.
I know. It was good. I was a good girl. I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Well, but the question now becomes, is this EO for real? Everybody in Sacramento is thinking, nope. Everybody locally is trying to be dismissive of it. They're all assigning, well, this person is the reason why it's not happening, or this group of people is the reason why we're not getting our money in, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is everybody's saying the same thing. They want the same thing. They want that federal money. And this is a way to get the federal money indirect. And what it also does, and this is the key piece, Shauna, is I thought you were going to say something.
No, I'm listening intently.
Is it allows the money to come in without the normal sticky fingers to get it.
Yeah, which is why, spoiler, some folks here don't want it. For the same reason we don't have usage of all of these other financial mechanisms because they don't get to control it. And what all of this has come down to is the same powers that be, the same people that got us in this mess in the first place, wanting to control all of the money, wanting to control the rebuild, wanting to maintain their power, wanting to maintain their power structure. And now I am going to go there, all of the community orgs lining up with them because they don't really have a choice if they want money.
Well, I think they do
there
have a choice.
There is a choice, but that's a conversation for another episode.
Choice, and that's a different thing.
That's another episode.
Same as Kristi Noem had a choice.
Yeah.
She could have said no.
Yep.
You can always say no.
Case in point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Have I got anything?
Have I taken anything?
Well, nobody's offered me anyway.
Well, I have been offered, and I've not taken it. Because as I've said to others in our space, this money, none of the money comes without strings. None of it.
Well, that's something that I've always, in my business career, I've always maintained I can't have a conflict of interest, even though I've been offered multiple times the same option to have that conflict of interest. I've said I won't. I have to stay true to what I'm trying to do.
Yep, it's the truth.
All right.
Do we want to get on to policy? So I'm going to wrap up the EO thing, Trump's executive order conversation, with what I said to the organizers who were messaging me and like, oh my gosh, and even in our group, where people.
I apologize. I didn't mean to hijack that one.
You didn't hijack it. You're good. Even what we were talking about in the group when people were like, oh my gosh, it was very much like the sky is falling. Oh my God, Trump is coming. Fuck Trump. We don't want him. He can fuck off. Yes, I largely agree with that sentiment. However, that's not the takeaway for what's happening. And what is happening, ultimately, my message was, and it remains, let's not panic. Let's actually stop, see how this plays out, see what's really going to happen and what it means. And I can tell you what it's meant so far immediately last week. And there were signs that this was happening. I don't think there's any as you and I often say, we've long left the world of coincidence. And so I don't think there was any coincidence about the timing of some of these things. The FEMA EPA testing of those 100 lots, even though I think that'll be a foregone conclusion what they come to on that because of the way the testing is being handled. And I won't go, I think we talked about that in our last episode, so I won't go too far back into that. But also the return of the SBA offices to the Palisades and to Altadena, where you wonder, why would the SBA offices be coming back? And people, last week, or actually was it earlier this week, trying to think of what day it is, maybe this weekend, end of last week, people had just received, those who had SBA loans for rebuilding their homes for bridge funding or for funding period if they were uninsured, got notices stating, and I have to preface this by saying, so if you had an SBA loan to rebuild, you cannot have the loan proceeds dispersed to you. You can't actually get the money until you are actively rebuilding, and you have to have proof that you're actively rebuilding. But you can't be actively rebuilding if you're still going through, all of the hoops and everything else of an architect and a general contractor and engineering and then permitting.
But no, that's not a delay. So then does that allow the EO to allow SBA to extend its timing?
Ding, ding, ding. So,
Shauna.
Something positive? But you have to take it, it is what it is, and it came in a rather laughable package because, first of all...
I know,
okay, and we're going to share, I have to share, how can we not share this?
That's the problem, you have to choke down the shit to get it done.
We do. We kind of like, it's choke it down to just take our medicine.
I wonder if he actually has humor. I think. Do you think he actually believes that, or do you think he's actually kind of making a joke out of it now?
I don't know. Who knows?
He's probably got to have a sense of humor.
Having a chuckle and shitting his pants when he does this stuff. But the subject line of the email that people with the SBA loans said, news on your loan, thanks to your President Trump. You can't make this shit up. We are living in a George Orwell novel without question. We have been for the last, 10 years. But and then the letter enclosed wasn't actually addressed to the actual people, people getting these loans, the homeowner. They had mistakenly sent the same letter to everybody, and it was all addressed to the same man, which when someone Googled was an eye doctor in Riverside or Bakersfield. Everyone was cracking up that they fucked up, oops, and sent the same. So, your dear President Trump, dear leader, oops, accidentally sent someone else's letter to everybody. But again, we've got to get past the shit-covered shell to get to what's inside. And what was inside is the ability to have this loan to self-certify and to get your loan proceeds. So what they did was cut a little bit of red tape and allow people who specifically have submitted for a permit and for whom it has been 60 days or more. So if it has been more than 60 days since you requested a permit and you still don't have one, you can now self-certify that money will be used to rebuild and get that money right now, because otherwise those funds were set to expire for people in March. That's the big, oh shit. People who got those loans in March only had a year. And for many, it's going to be far more than a year to even break ground. Hi. Yeah, me.
What?
Exactly. Me. At least my lot is fenced and I've had my additional debris removal and I've made a little progress. But
and one more.
that's talk about another conversation. We're just talking about how expensive it is to do nothing. I'm $30,000 in and I'm not even doing anything yet.
Well, there's one other thing that I would say about the EO, the last piece that I think people need to understand is the dates of it. The date it was issued was the Friday before the 24th of January, which was the 1-year anniversary from when the president and the governor met on the tarmac here in LAX. So that's a message to
Newsom,
Gavin.
Yep.
And I would say that readers of my Substack know there are plans that they could be doing to start moving along here that the state could be catalyzing.
And we're not.
Such as a disaster investment fund or disaster investment. Yeah, it was fun. I already wrote up the legislation, in fact, if somebody really wants to introduce it, because maybe we can get moving. But alas.
Alas, we rather complain about Trump than actually solve problems and rebuild communities.
Well, I would not. I'd rather actually.
I know you would, but
I'm tired of complaining about Trump.
Same. I'm tired of complaining about everything, to be frank.
Yeah, but our people here are the ones that are the true villains, not the guy in Washington.
Sadly, I have to agree with you. And that takes us to our next topic, which is policy, right? And back to the policy future, right? Which is what we are with both the Trump EO and also with what's coming down. We've had quite a bit of policy news.
Well, this is when all the legislation comes in.
Yep, correct. We're in a new
This
session.
is when 797 got introduced.
Yep.
If I go back, I forgot to do my year ago last week. Shoot.
No.
I gotta go do that. But I didn't think it was very much.
Steve is about to run out of the studio just to go start writing immediately because he's going to drive him crazy.
Somewhere. Anyway.
So some of the policy highlights, and we can dig into this. Sasha Pérez has introduced some new legislation, SB 878, which was co-signed by Ben Allen, who incidentally is making his own run for insurance commissioner now.
I heard he's got an uphill battle there, though.
Yep. So, the question is, though, what's going to happen? Like, will this actually be, this one's insurance related. Do you want to get into the meat of 878?
Well, I mean, I just saw what was, briefly out there, but the essence of it is that insurers should be paying out money that they're holding back in a timely fashion. So at the federal government, what we have is called the Prompt Payment Act. When the government contractors submit an invoice and they delay payment, they got to pay with penalties like everybody else would, but it's prime plus like a point or two. This one, I think, was modeled after the Florida one where they have a 20% penalty immediately, which I think is a little bit much. This was a regulatory fix that was being talked about last summer, and now I guess they got introduced as a bill. I think that'll be, I've been told that will likely have some changes in committee. This is going to be a tough bill to get through because the insurance lobby is going to lobby hard, similar to the other bill that I think you're going to talk about because of the ambiguities that will be created in that one in the jurisdictional issues, that while in theory it sounds good, the practicality of it is bad. I don't think the insurance companies deserve to continue to hose homeowners, but I think that my conversations with the electeds on this particular issue was, why are we taking on insurance piecemeal? If this brings people to the table to address the broader insurance problems that we have here, i.e. the insurers leaving because we force rates that are too low relative to market rates and finding a different way to do this, then fine. But if this bill is just to create another layer of bullshit, it's just another example of we're layering on. This is what the abundance agenda was, that book was written about, is that here we are solving these problems piecemeal instead of addressing the policy question in total. Total or Toto, which is it? You're the communications person.
I don't know on that one.
So that's essentially where that one is. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think the question, at least that I have, is, is this going to be effective, or is this just going to set things up to bite us in the ass again when insurers decide it's too difficult and too punitive for their shareholders, because like it or not, that is the country we live in. to insure people in this state?
Well,
and does
I-
that just
I
leave
could
us
tell you-
all on CFP?
So what I was, either that or we go to out-of-state insurers. So the unregulated. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who's dealing with an investment in this. And that is another path that we might see more and more people go to, because to have a $300,000 deductible is ridiculous, but those rates are going to be upwards of $30,000 a year to insure. But the thing that people have to understand is that our homes are worth far more than elsewhere in the country. So your insurance is relative to the value of the underlying asset you're insuring. So we're all happy when our houses are appreciating in value, but we're pissed when we have to pay for the cost of it. And I guess because we have Prop 13, we're not conditioned to actually see what the proper valuation of our homes are. And again, that's another conversation for another day. But when you start to, this is what they talk about with engineering and politics. You pull one string, you don't know where the other pieces are going to come out. You know, you start talking about, well, yes, we all agree that people should get their money timely, but what does that mean? And how does that work? And well, what about the insurers that are sitting there saying, well, I'm forced to have to now insure you, and I'm charging you a rate that's below market rate relative to what the rebuild costs are going to be. And yet you bitch at me when I don't pay you, which is fair because there's a contract. And now you want to assign me a punitive penalty, but you're also now forcing me to have to pay on your representation what the contents are in your home. But yet at the same time, what do you do? Because it's just this damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Right.
And I think that that's the point that these electeds have been saying to me, is that we need to address this issue. This is a major issue, and it needs to be addressed by serious people in a serious form to solve this insurance problem. And our insurance commissioner, unfortunately, is more worried about running off to Bermuda than he is about actually addressing these insurance problems. And whoever the next insurance commissioner is, maybe it's time to actually sit down with the legislature and craft a real holistic solution so the shit show that we're living in right now doesn't happen again.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to follow this one and see where it lands. The other piece of legislation that was introduced a week ago today, last Tuesday, was John's bill.
My boy.
Your boy. John Harabedian. His bill with EFRU, the Eaton Fire Residents United, which for anyone unfamiliar, that's the grassroots fire survivor-led org that has been fighting for rights of those with standing homes who've been left with contaminated structures. Still, so many people still out of their homes with like untouched. I mean, it is the most surreal thing to drive through Altadena right now and see, this combination of homes well underway. Some homes already getting occupancy. I actually ran into a neighbor on Palm just, yesterday, day before. I've been watching her place go up. It's small. She built in the small footprint with a little tiny casita in the back. It feels like it belongs. It's like desert modern. It's gorgeous. And she was saying that the whole thing came off of this copper door she found in India. She has the most stunning solid copper front door. Cool. But anyhow, it's this.
Tell her to be careful because copper thieves are everywhere. Look at the 6th Street Bridge.
I know. I shouldn't talk about where. I know. Fuck me. I hope she's got a ton of security cameras, and as a sign in the window of another standing home says, this home is occupied. We are here. We are armed, and we will shoot you. Yeah. With the word "will" underscored with two lines.
And the sheriffs are out patrolling.
Yeah, the sheriffs are the sheriffs, but Altadena.
Altadena's wild.
Altadena's Altadena.
Keep Altadena wild, right?
Mm-hmm. Feral. Keep Altadena feral. I got to find that sticker.
You got to get me that bump.
I know.
That
I want it. I want that sticker.
Yeah, whoever has that, if you're listening to this or if you know who has it,
we need it. I've been joking that I have returned to my feral state for ages, so I'm cracking up. Keep Altadena feral is better than wild or weird. But
no, weird is Portland. Feral is us.
Yes, agreed. So back to this bill. Back to all of this. It's so surreal to drive through our town and you see this combination of homes under construction, foundations being poured, framing going up, some homes near completion, a handful, and we'll get into the state of the rebuild in the next episode, but a handful, a very small handful, 6, actually built. But then next to that, lots that haven't been touched since Army Corps and thus are still covered in toxic material because Army Corps was not complete. So you have lots that are untouched, wild, and you can still see burnt and charred debris on them and toxic ash and soil. Then you've got, others that are clearly abandoned, or not, I want to say abandoned, but have been purchased, by a developer to sit for God knows how long. And then you've got when I say abandoned, these
That
homes.
sounds like a lottery winner.
Right? You see these, no shit. You see these homes.
We see you, Wall Street Journal.
Yep. And then you also, have, what was I going to say? The, shit, Steve, you made me lose my train of thought again. You know that I am like a squirrel. I have the attention span of a gnat these days. You get me on like another tangent. We've been discussing in depth that the undiagnosed ADHD around here.
LTRG, you were talking about the
no,
homes.
But the standing homes. Thank you. So the other thing that you see as you drive through the landscape is right next to, you have a home under construction, a home rebuilt, a home standing and reoccupied, a lot covered in toxic shit, untouched, wild, God knows when, if they're ever returning. And then another home standing but destroyed, untouched, boarded up, no trespassing signs, because these people are still fighting insurance and will be for God knows how long and can't go home. And these homes are they're like ghost houses, abandoned.
Yep.
So, it is absolutely, it does not paint a picture of a community.
It's post-apocalyptic.
Correct.
Still.
It does not paint a picture of a recovering community.
Well,
it is it is another disaster of its own making. So this bill, we want to get to it, AB 1642, specifically is to set a standard that would not be set by insurance companies, but by scientists on what real health standards and thresholds, and namely contamination levels, should be set and met for anyone to return home, period. Because right now it's insurance companies saying, oh, we wiped down the walls, it's fine, go home. And then people are having industrial hygienists come in and test, and the levels of everything under the sun that is toxic are like through the roof. Like you cannot be, you have no business being in that house. So
yeah, but that's what public health advised us at the outset of this.
Yeah,
I remember watching Barbara Ferrer. I mean, she kept us locked down for an extended period of time, but yet at the same time, it was okay to go back to your house and just go take some heavy some soap and clean your walls, and you should be good.
It's absolutely insane. So I'm thrilled that bill got introduced. I'm thrilled for EFRU, who've been working so hard that they got some meaningful legislation through, at least on the floor, even if it doesn't pass. But frustrated that it didn't go far enough. It doesn't go nearly far enough. Like this could have been, you and I discussed this, could have been an inclusive environmental bill.
So what I will say is this, is that
it's too narrow.
Okay, so sometimes bills are introduced, and when they get to committee and markup, they can be changed. And it doesn't mean they're narrowed. At times, they can be expanded. I think it's just, let's test it out. Let's see who's there. Let's see what's available. And let's see where the support lies and where the opposition lies. Sometimes that bill may not, this bill, is, as was explained to me, is not necessarily for this disaster, but for the disasters going forward. And they have to distinguish between rural and urban, because these disasters are going to continue to happen. And who's going to have responsibility on this? Is it going to be Caltech setting it? Is it going to be the state setting it? Is it going to be county? Is it going to be an amalgamation of them? How are they going to determine what these standards are? Is it going to differ for each disaster? And so on and so forth. I mean, it opens up, it seems very simple, but it's actually very complex. And, insurers are going to say, okay, well then I want, it based upon your standard, is that going to extend my ALE? How is that going to affect ALE? And how do I know what this is going to be?
Getting cut for people again.
But how do I know what I'm supposed to be able to insure against or not insure against? Do I now exempt that from the policies, et cetera? So, this is, while it seems very simple, it's a very complex issue. And this is something that's really going to have to be hammered out in committee. This is a committee bill. So what you have there is really a placeholder.
Yeah.
And the true action will happen once it gets going in committee.
Good, because it needs to be more inclusive. It needs to be a full bill. It needs to not just be this narrow.
And it might be a multi-year process. This might be a bill that gets killed in this session to figure out who's against it and how they're against it, and then recalibrate it to go into the next session.
Good.
Again,
it's a start.
Yeah, and then
I'm glad it's.
And that's the way you got to look at it. Is that now you've got this as a real discussion point.
Yep.
And sometimes legislation is that. So
I appreciate that. And it's also nice to kind of see into that process and how this works.
sorry, I've done this before.
You don't say.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you've written legislation and had it passed or vetoed.
Yeah. Well, and I've done it not only here, I've done it in
I know.
Washington.
So that takes us to the other.
This one. Oh,
I'm going to let Steve run with this one. So, Steve is like shaking his head and mopping his brow. And
so
my
many people
God.
have reached out to me on this one because I wrote about it over the weekend.
So the EFC, the Eaton Fire Collaborative, that has developed its LTRG or Long-Term Recovery Group, and within which
Look at you with your acronyms.
I know so many fucking many. And within that, there is the Policy Advisory Committee. Which I actually sat on.
The PAC?
Yeah, for a time that I sat on for a time.
LTRG's PAC of the EFC.
Yes. Which is...
recommending a CLT.
Correct.
Sorry.
Which is, as always, good people with good intentions trying to do things, but trying being the operative. I felt I was a lot more effective elsewhere, which is why we're here and I'm not there. And part of this, what came out of that is part of why I'm not there, because I would have been beating my head against a wall. So let's talk about what was in the policy document and the asks made. Please run us through it.
I think
Steve.
readers
Steve
of my
can't even,
Substack will...
Steve can't even get the words out. He's so incredulous about the absurdity of it. And I'm sorry, I don't want to insult anyone who worked on this because, again, I think it's so critical to know that people are doing their best. And it really is well-intended. But in a state where we couldn't get $70 million to finish the required and necessary testing for post-remediation.
I should have written that in there too.
How the fuck do we have $4 billion? Who thinks they're getting $4 billion? It's like you went to your parents and asked for a 20 to go out on Friday night and they said no. So you're like, cool, can I have $1 million instead?
All right. So
I know.
I don't even know where to go with this one.
I know.
Because
it's a tough one.
So what? All right, I could be wrong. I'm going to preface it with that. I could be totally wrong on this, and maybe they got an inside track, and everything's going to work out. And the community land trust model that they're going to have is going to be funded, and everybody's going to walk away, and I'm going to look like a fucking idiot. Sorry, people, but that's where it's going to go.
And by the way, I don't know about you, but I've said it before. I would love to be wrong. I would love it. I would welcome it. Make me wrong. Get the billions of dollars and get this fucking ship, sailing. I'll take it.
I don't understand how that works. There's a contradiction in this whole thing anyway, because it goes against SRP, CRD, but there's a couple more acronyms for you. So let's back up and let's talk about what's happening. So the LTRG has 3 asks. The first ask was John's bill, essentially.
Yeah.
Second,
but it went a little further, and I want to actually give props there because it went a little further and had some really smart notes in there about setting standards for cleanups, for post-remediation, meaning post-cleanup testing, remediation or follow-up remediation, follow-up testing if needed. Really things that would ensure that people have what I've been kind of yelling about for months, and as a result now tracking down and documenting all of this dirty soil moving all over Altadena, is the ability for all of us to have a safe community, to rebuild it and to come home to, which we should have.
Yeah.
We should have that. That should be a very basic baseline, right? We're not asking for, this is nothing wild we're asking for. This is nothing extraordinary out there. This is real basic shit.
I understand.
Let's have a clean, safe environment to return to.
And I think that's what AB 1642 is starting.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see where it goes.
So that was the first section of the LTRG's policy ask.
And then the second ask was the Eaton Fire Survivors Network, according to the document, their initiative where they want the $200,000 to be fronted for fire survivors out of the Edison settlement.
Yeah, which is, you already know my opinion on that. Don't fuck with people's potential settlements.
Well,
just don't.
Anyway, so that's...
It's also never going to happen.
That was the second thing.
I'd love to be wrong.
Again, and again, that's assuming Edison admits guilt and all the other things. So now the third piece was the community land trust. They wanted to get, was it 1.7 or $1.9 billion to fund the acquisition of land and developing that land into affordable housing. Now,
Meanwhile,
we couldn't get $10 million to go buy the land and have outside funding doing it. They want the state to do this entirely.
the state that's how many billions short?
Well, right now it's 17 billion, but the governor says it's only 3 billion, but he's also holding back 5.6 billion from education, and they're about to take a $4 billion hit if the Trump administration decides not to renew their HMO tax that they used to fund Medicaid. So, which we all know, we've Trump-proofed California so well that we're now begging for money.
Yep.
So I think you got to presume that that money is going to come out. So that's showing 8 billion plus another 3 is 11 billion. We're not far off from the LAO's number.
Right.
So,
and I think it's important to note that that's 1.6 billion that they're seeking for a CLT was also to resurrect SB 549.
well, a form of a derivative of.
Right.
They want to create
but to have their own rebuilding
They
authority.
want to create a rebuilding authority on
Exactly.
top of the rebuilding authority we got for 782 that they were
Yep.
all supportive of when we were telling them not to do it, but they went ahead and got Sasha's bill through. And they were promised community land trust from what I was told. And then when the bill went through, they were told that that's not going to happen. So
Yep.
now they're starting back up again. Look, folks.
So get into the next.
Wait.
Don't forget.
Don't forget
rest.
the $50 million to administer this, that we couldn't even get $10 million to administer our thing, which we weren't even going to take. The state said that's what it was going to be worth, but they're going to ask for $50 million.
Right. And
To do what?
What Steve's talking about is the fact that the reason given for vetoing 797 was that it was too expensive. So even
According
though
to the veto message, yes.
correct, even though it really wasn't, what they were qualifying as too expensive was $10 million.
So look,
But $50 million is not too expensive.
no, but because it was
To
going to go to the
administer-
right groups
Correct.
as opposed to,
Outsiders.
no, go biz. It was going to go to the freaking government.
Yeah.
That's what they, anyway, okay.
And- yeah. Okay.
So seriousness. Look, this is my point. We are now in our second year here. We need to have serious answers to our problems, not pipe dreams. And again, I understand why people want a community land trust, but don't you realize it's antithetical to the whole rebuild model that's been created for Altadena?
Yeah.
If we're supposed to be using a CRD to do this, to increase property tax, taking properties off the market to be held by a nonprofit reduces the property tax money that would otherwise be going to help rebuild our city. It's antithetical.
Yet none of it makes any sense.
But yet this is being proposed as a solution that needs to get legislation. I mean, if you want to do this, do 797 again. It's a lot cheaper and a lot more effective and a lot more
It's easier.
simplified.
Yep.
And nobody's going to sit there and go, you want how much? Maybe they need to ask for that. Maybe that's the only way shit gets done in California, is that you have to have an outlandish ask as opposed to making money for the state, which is what 797 would have done. I mean, maybe it's just too pragmatic, and maybe that's why I'm wrong. Maybe I don't get it. Maybe I need to be this is just
A
unbelievable.
poverty pimp.
Anyway.
Yeah. It's
For those that
bothersome.
did it,
So,
great.
Yeah.
I applaud you. Go do your cause. Hopefully you get what you want.
yep. So what happens when this all goes bust?
Then we just wasted 2 years.
Yep.
And we didn't get legislation that could have actually been able to get people money for their property.
So how do we fix this? I mean, we know how we fix it.
You know, I'm not even wasting my time with the state anymore.
Yep.
I've written the legislation, 2 different bills. I'm just going to go to the feds. Honestly, I'm just going to go to Trump and say, listen, I know you don't care about California. I know California doesn't care about you. But right now,
Just get us the fucking money.
give us the tools. I don't want the
Exactly.
money. I want
Exactly.
the tools. The problem is that every time we try to get the tools to get the money, it gets shut down.
Yeah. And actually, I want to be real clear of what I meant when I said just give us the money. It is precisely that. It's the tools. We have them already. There are other tools that could be
And get the people in the way that are blocking us out of the way.
correct.
That's the biggest problem, is that
Yep.
everybody's trying to get in the way to move. And this is
Because they're trying to all support their own causes. They're all out for themselves.
but this is the
Like
conversation.
everybody wants their little piece of this fiefdom. It's a bunch of rats.
But I had this conversation with somebody who's tied into all of this the other day. And I said, everybody's focusing on the wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
We're all fighting over crumbs. Whether it's the community groups, whether it's the philanthropic organizations, they don't have the money to do this. The real money is already there, guys. It's got
go
a
use it.
nonprofit.
Yep.
No, I'm saying they're already here. They're already moving much faster than any of us. We're sitting here talking about a community land trust. The real money, the real players are already making their moves. They're already buying the land. They're already going to start building. They're already taking. And you guys think you're saving the city? You're not. You're getting played. You're either being played for somebody's political ambitions to be, once they get into 2028, or you're being played to distract you so you're not stopping the big play that's coming behind you. Either way, you've missed the boat. And if you spend another year doing this, you've missed the boat big time.
Well, I think we've talked about this at length, that philanthropy, and I say philanthropy because philanthropy is behind so much of this, if not all of it.
Philanthropy is driving the narrative about the CDBG money.
Correct. That they're so busy trying to curry favor. And I say that both on a small and a large scale, that there's no real advocacy happening. This is just about how to keep everyone comfortable and in the positions that they want to be.
But philanthropy doesn't have the tools to do this.
That's
if you
my
talk
point.
to anybody that's involved with philanthropy right now,
Which begs the question, why are they being allowed to drive all of this?
because they
Why have we
the
handed
bully
it
pulpit.
over?
Because they got it after fire aid, and they've done it before with homelessness, and they're going to do it again.
Exactly.
It's La Casa
This is
all over again, folks.
Yep. This is the homeless
Create a
crisis.
an entity and authority to do it.
All
the
over again.
CRD told everybody to pound sand, so guess what? They're going to create a new one. And they're going to get the state government to run it because nobody else can do it. Now, the problem is that they're running into a state government that doesn't have the money like they did. There's not all that COVID money flowing through like it was. And they're also running into a state government that is in flux because our governor will no longer be governor. And so they have to either leverage him to run for president, which this doesn't play very well because he's going to own the effects of this, which he doesn't want. That's why he doesn't want anything to do with any of this stuff. Or they're going to have to bring in whoever's going to be next. And that's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yes, it is.
So my point to Altadena has always been get real, move on, go over the horizon, go to, as they used to say about Wayne Gretzky, go to where the puck is going, since we're using 80s references today. You know, go where it's going. You're talking about the past. Like, we're not getting our asks. You got the CRD. You're done. You screwed that up, just like I said. You're not going to get another shot at this.
Are you done?
Sorry.
I know. Don't be sorry. I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, I mean, you can stop me if I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong about any of it. I don't think you've been wrong for the last year. You certainly, I don't think anything that we have said has been wrong yet since September.
Yeah.
And I will say again, it's a challenge at this point. Please prove me wrong. I welcome it.
Well, what I'm also hearing is that we're getting closer to the failure becoming too apparent. And the failure,
too apparent to hide.
The people that are failing are going to be sacrificed.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Well, on that cheery note, as we round out the hour, should we close it with a small biz shout out?
You know them all.
Or at least most of them. So I'm going to, sadly, we only have so many small businesses left in Altadena, all of whom can use support. But the one I want to talk about today is actually in East Pasadena. It's the Basic Nail Shop.
Where is it?
They're located, so, you have on Foothill, you have the Whole Foods Plaza, the Home Goods Plaza, because I won't say the name of the other place that starts with an H, and then the little place next to it behind where Fish Grill is, and I think there's like a discount clothing store that I can never remember right in the corner. Anyhow, it's in that mini mall at the corner of Foothill, and is that Sierra Madre? Yes.
Foothill and Sierra Madre.
I've only lived here my entire life
Whole
and still
Foods is
fuck up
over
all the
at
streets.
Hastings Ranch.
This is just east of that.
Okay.
Just east. So, Basic Nail Shop.
Oh, you mean where the corner bakery is?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know where you are.
Oh, there's now Steve knows.
Yeah, it's almost to Michelinda.
Almost. Exactly. Oh, yes, that's where it is. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Corner of Michelinda and Foothill.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was saying Sierra Madre because I'm thinking of Sierra Madre.
Because it runs you
it's
into
Sierra
Sierra
Madre.
Madre.
Correct.
Yes.
Adjacent. Michelinda, which would also take you all the way up into Hastings Ranch. Et voila. So that's where it is. They've been there for a couple of years. They'd actually kind of opened just not long before the fire. And I finally got back in there, and I wanted to get
your nails done.
I haven't been there in forever, but it is where I got my nails done.
I was admiring it in my head that you have this fancy
I'm kind of loving these nails.
Fancy artwork on your nails.
I do.
How do they do it in that, like
with the
level
gold
of-
or the detail?
The detail.
That's all done by hand. I know. It's all like
Jeez.
freehand by hand. They're artists. They're artists, and this
Yeah,
is
but
the
that's
canvas.
so small.
I know.
And how do you keep your hands still long? Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the basic
digress.
nail shop, not only because they're awesome, as you can see, even Steve is appreciating my nails, and you can see them on Instagram, and I will share them again because they do look really great. Basic Nail Shop is owned by Alex and Trish, who are Altadena residents who, like too many of us, lost a home and are in the process of rebuilding. They have a really sweet little boy and really nice family-run business, excellent spot. But again, Altadena owned and operated, family-run, could use support. Go check them out if you need a nail shop. And if you're in that area, in Sierra Madre, Fables and Fancies is a little bookstore in Sierra Madre. Not Altadena owned, but the owner has done a lot with Altadena, for Altadena, and he's another one. He opened right before the fire, and it really speaks to how these communities, including Sierra Madre, depend on Altadena business. And having 22,000 of us gone has really harmed a lot of our businesses that surround us, not just in Altadena, but in our little neighborhood communities. So go give them some love. They're both really great spots.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And on that note, are we going to cut this one off
Yeah,
so that
we're
everybody
out.
can binge us next time?
We are. I'm going to leave on this note. I want to let everyone to think about this.
When I was looking at the workup on this, I
Yeah.
thought I was going to talk very little on this one.
You proved me wrong.
I proved myself wrong.
I want to leave everyone on this note to think about it. How much easier would it be to have this money flowing, including federal money and the tools for federal money, if Altadena were incorporated?
You're saying what people have been saying to me in the background.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's sit with that. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next episode.
Well, all right. On that note, I'm Steve.
I'm Shauna. You can find us online, Beautiful Altadena, Instagram, Substack.
The
Steve,
Altadena Policy Wonk. And I think
also on
that's it.
Substack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think everybody. Oh, yeah. I guess maybe not.
You never know. We'll see you
But
next
we have
time.
new listeners. Bye, everybody.